What's up guys, really glad to be back with you all for another video. Zido here, and welcome back to the channel. So a while ago, I reviewed the Mitsuki Koku the Void class pad, which I managed to borrow from my friend Destiny26, and luckily enough, after that dropped, the team over at Mitsuki reached out to me. They really liked how detailed and thorough that review was. So today we are welcoming the Koku the Void back to the channel, but in a completely different form factor. Huge shout out and a massive thank you to Mitsuki for sending this clothed version over for review. It has seriously been a game changer for me in Valorant recently. You guys have no idea how good this thing actually is. So let's roll the intro and jump right into it. First, let's talk about the unboxing and my initial impressions when opening this thing. The packaging for the closed version of the Mitsuki Koku is incredibly over-engineered. Honestly, when I was unboxing it, I was caught off guard by just how premium the whole experience felt. Usually standard clothes pads are shipped in a basic flat cardboard box, maybe with a semi-transparent matte plastic sleeve inside to keep the moisture out. But Mitsuki clearly decided that standard wasn't good enough for a premium clothes pad, so they went the extra mile with their presentation. On the outside, you get a flat shipping box, which is literally just there to protect the actual retail box inside. And the outer box features a tear-strip along the top edge to open it up. It's not a slide-in, slide-out style like an Artisan box, but feels more like a hybrid blend of an Artisan package and the newer flat boxes we have seen recently from brands like Abyss Gaming or Nemvira. Now, once you rip that T-strip and unfold of all four flaps, you are greeted by the official retail box inside. And man, this in the box is exactly how I love seeing clothes pads packaged. It's super secure and high-end. It's held shut by two Velcro tabs, and when you unlatch the Velcro, it transitions into a smooth slide-in, slip-out mechanism to pull the pad out. They utilize these Velcro tabs specifically for the lid's opening and closing mechanism, while keeping the other three sides securely bonded together, which is a different design choice compared to what Abyss and Nemvira did. I think it's a brilliant concept, executing that hybrid vibe between Artisan and Nemvira Abyss Gaming that I mentioned before. Inside the pad is wrapped in a frosted matte protective sleeve. Peel that way, pull the pad out, and you finally get your hands on this beautiful Mitsuki Koku the Void clothes pad. Moving on, let's look at the external specs. Starting with the sizing, this comes in the standard universally preferred XL size, measuring 49 by 42 centimeters with a 4mm thickness. Nothing entirely groundbreaking on paper here, but that 4mm thickness is pretty much the industry standard, but when you pair it with a control pad that features a soft density, it truly becomes the golden standard. The specific thickness also plays a massive role in how well the edge stitching turns out, but we'll get to that in just a second. Next up is the base. Mitsuki went with a slim flex pour-on base in a soft hardness profile. We don't really need to dwell too much on this section because we already know how incredible the quality of slim flex material is. That said, with certain mousepad that implement a slim flex pour-on base, you sometimes run into consistency issues where the pad fails to grip the desk properly, causing it to slide around during intense fast flicks or extended tracking loops. On my specific retail unit of the Mitsuki Koku, the desk grip is perfectly fine. It doesn't shift, slide, or budge even a single millimeter at the rapid, heavy, or sudden mouse movements when I'm in the game. Now, at the same time, it's still very easy to peel off the desk whenever you need to adjust or reposition it to clean up your setup layout. It doesn't give you that aggressive lockdown suction cup effect like the mid-peel bases from Nemvira or Abyss Gaming, but I easily rate Mitsuki's implementation of this slim flex base a solid 9 out of 10. It's incredibly well executed. Now, let's talk about the stitching. Wow! Yeah, that's the only thing that I can think of when it comes to the stitching. The stitching on this Koku pad is mind-blowingly premium. Just look at it with the naked eye. You can instantly tell it's a true low profile. It sits completely below the main surface level of the pad, which drastically minimizes any friction against your forearm or skin irritation. I've been manning this pad for about 2 weeks straight for testing, and my personal experience is that I haven't felt the stitch edge touch my arm a single time. Zero discomfort whatsoever. They absolutely nailed it. And the stitching technique itself is actually pretty unique from what I've observed. They seem to be using a completely different method than standard edge stitching. If you look at the other side, the perimeter actually features 2 distinct separate rows of micro stitching. You know, I'm not a textile expert, but I can tell you it looks incredibly distinct and eye-catching. The underside stitching uses a clean white thread, which creates a beautiful contrast against the black Poron base and adds to that premium aesthetic. Where the Slimflex base ends, you can see how flawlessly this stitching is finished. It runs tightly along the edges, angling outward to perfectly bind the top surface layer down. What's wild is that even though this is a review sample sent alongside a class pad that I bought, there isn't a single loose thread or a hint of fraying anywhere on the edges. How they manage this level of quality control is insane. And when it comes to the performance of the surface, this is an absolute through and through pure control pad. It is significantly slower than my Artisan Zero, coming much closer to a Type 99 speed profile, but thankfully it avoids feelings like a muddy swamp like a Jupiter Pro. But what made me completely fall in love with this pad, to the point where I spent the last 2 weeks heavily grinding Valorant again, is the actual texture of the weave. It combines a soft, blush sinking characteristic with a remarkably smooth surface texture. It doesn't have that aggressive roughness you get on a Zero, nor does it feel dry like a Zero or a Type 99. Having a dry or abrasive close texture heavily impacts how comfortable your arm sleeve and skin feel during long gaming sessions. The Koku closed surface, however, is incredibly friendly on both your skin and your gaming sleeves. This actually surprised me because looking at the weave, I fully expected my sleeve to drag or catch on the fabric fibers. Instead, it glides smoothly across the surface with zero catching or artificial tugging from conflicting fabric grains. It's just pure uninterrupted smoothness. For me, the X and Y axis friction feels identical. There is no noticeable variance between horizontal and vertical movements, which means when you're executing long diagonal flicks or tracking targets vertically and horizontally simultaneously, your speed remains perfectly uniform. Personally, I absolutely love a uniform XY axis on a control pad. On speed pads, I can go either way depending on the texture and the surface, but on a pure control surface, having that constant, predictable uniformity always feels incredible. And also the stopping power is remarkably high. When you want to stop your mouse, it stops instantly with zero over travel or floatiness. It is a phenomenal match for tactical FPS titles like Valorant and CS2, and if I had to map out its dynamic friction on a scale of 10, it sits at around a 4 out of 10 for speed, while the stopping power sits at a massive 9 out of 10. There is, however, one minor caveat to keep in mind, which is a byproduct of the Slimflex base interacting with the surface. Because the base is so soft, if you are using small dot skates on your mouse, they will push into the foam quite easily. This caused the mouse base plate to bottom out slightly, creating a bit of scratchiness as the fabric surface deforms around the dots. It can feel a bit jarring if you put too much downward pressure on the mouse. Personally, I don't push down heavily on my pad, probably because I'm used to playing on class surfaces, but this is definitely something to keep in mind if you tend to tense up and press your mouse down hard during intense gunfights. Now, to dive a bit into the visual design, I do have to admit that I prefer this artwork on the class version of the Koku. If you haven't seen it yet, you can check out my full review of the Mitsuki Koku class pad right here. Don't get me wrong, the print on this clothes pad is still gorgeous. The colors are incredibly vibrant and it stands out beautifully on a clean white setup like mine. It just doesn't hit quite as hard as the artwork does underneath a sheet of tempered glass. On the glass version, it looks absolutely mind-blowing, but on the clothes, it's still a beautiful, highly unique piece, especially since most brands lately have stopped investing in high-quality artwork for clothes pads. The color pop beautifully, as you can see on the screen right now. It's just that the glass version set the bar impossibly high. Quick verdict on the artwork, still an easy 9 out of 10. It looks fantastic. I just enjoy the artwork on the glass version more. Now down in the bottom right corner, we have the white Mitsuki Koku logo. It's printed using a raised textured material, just like any clothes pad with a prominent corner logo design. And if you drag your mouse directly over it, the material is going to grab your mouse and cause noticeable drag. Now the texture itself feels premium and tactile to the touch, but just be mindful of mouse placement. One key aesthetic difference from the glass pad is that the glass version used a transparent raised logo, whereas this clothes version opts for a clean, solid white, which fits standard clothes pad designs well. However, there's one detail about this whole Koku project, spanning both the glass and the clothes releases, that leaves me a bit puzzled. Both of these are strictly limited edition drops. The glass pad was limited to 1500 units, while this clothes version is capped at just 1000 units worldwide, making the clothes pad even rarer than the glass one. Yet, on the glass pad, you get a clean serialized number etched into the bottom left corner. Mine was number 566 out of 1500. Man, if only it was 555 or 666, that would have been epic. On this closed version, there is no serialization numbers anywhere. I'm not sure if printing individual numbers on a closed surface or edge significantly raises manufacturing costs, but honestly, it would have been an awesome addition since it's such a limited run. Even putting a 0 number stamp on the retail box would have been better. Lacking that small collector's detail left me feeling a tiny bit let down, especially considering how rare and amazing this pad actually is to use. And now to wrap things up, coming in around the $50 price bracket, I consider this an absolutely must-buy clothes pad that can easily go toe-to-toe with the biggest control pads on the market right now. The reason it's such an easy recommendation comes down to the complete package. The artwork is stunningly beautiful. The Koku lineup is a premium limited run with only 1000 units globally, and the performance is flawless. It delivers everything a tactical FPS player needs: incredible stopping power, an ultra smooth skin-friendly texture, immaculate low-profile stitching, a premium soft slim flex pour-on base, and a brilliantly engineered packaging experience. Even though they don't bundle any extra accessories in the box, the sheer performance of the pad itself makes it worth every penny. You really can't ask for more. And I've been enjoying this pad so much that it has officially become my main clothes pad, completely replacing my orange Artisan Zero after months of loyal service. And if you play tactical shooters and want an incredibly well-rounded premium pad with an element of exclusive FOMO, this is a phenomenal collector piece that delivers on performance. And that wraps up my review of the clothes version of the Mitsuki Koku The Void. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful. If you were on the fence about picking one up, I want to give a very special shout out and thank you to Destiny26 and also to the team at Mitsuki for making this review possible. And also, of course, a massive thank you to all of you watching for constantly supporting the channel and providing awesome constructive feedback. Thank you all so much. Catch you guys in the next one, and Zido's out. Peace.